Hi, we have already discussed the 6 inputs to MRP: the MPS, the bill of materials, the inventory availability or the inventory status, the lead times for each of the components, raw materials, sub-assemblies, final assembly, all of that. Lot sizing, safety stock, if any. So once we have these 6 inputs to MRP, now we need to see how the math in the MRP system works. Let's start with this example of a bill of material. It is one of the most simple products you can really think of. So this is the product structure or the bill of materials of a speaker set. So the speaker set here is denoted by the letter A, which is made up of two major subassemblies, B and C. B is the speaker kit and C is the speaker kit with amp booster. So now you see here, for every item A, that is the final product, you need 2 B's and 3 C's. And each B, okay, keep that in mind, each B requires 2 D's and 2 E's. So this is called the parent. These are the two children. This is the parent. This is the child. A has 2 children, B and C. B in turn has 2 children, D and E. F has 2 children, G and D. E has no children. So what that means is either E is a raw material or something that this company is buying from outside. They are not making it, which means they are not concerned about what goes into E. So you see here that there are A through G, 7 different end items, sub-assemblies, and raw material and components. So when we do the math in MRP, we have to start from the top and work our way down. So the notation, as we have discussed earlier, is that level 0 is the top level, which is where the product that you are shipping, followed by levels 1, 2, 3 as you go down. As we discussed, 2 D's in 1 B and 2 B's in 1 A. And there is a D here also, the speaker. Now if you are asked the simple question, if I need 100 A, how many D's do you need? The simple answer would be 2 times 2, 4 D's in this route, and 2 times 2 times 3, 12 D's in this route. So 12 plus 4, you need 16 of these D's. So for this simple example, it is pretty straightforward. I can ask you any question. It will not be complicated. But imagine if I had a product with hundreds and hundreds of raw materials and components and sub-assemblies, which is very typical in a product like a computer or a car or an aircraft. Doing this mentally is very difficult or impossible. That is when MRP plays a very important role. So now you're given that A has a lead time of 1. What does that mean? Once I have B and C ready, it'll take me 1 week to put them together to get 1A or to get A. What does a lead time of 2 for B means? That means that it takes 2 weeks to put D and E together to make B. Whenever we start making D and E, it takes us 2 weeks to make B. Similarly, D, the item D itself takes 1 week, item G takes 2 weeks, item F takes 3 weeks to put together, and item E takes 2 weeks, which is the ordering time, the time it takes for you to place an order and receive this packing box and installation kit of wire, bolts and screws. You're not making it. You're just ordering it. Now, given this scenario, let's find out how MRP works. Now, keep in mind, like I said earlier, you have something called the low-level coding. The low-level code of A is 0, so that will be the first item that you will plan. The low-level codes for B and C are both equal to 1 because they appear only once in level 1. Level 2, you have E and F, and level 3, D and G. Recall that this D technically has to be here, but the reason it is put here is to show that D belongs in level 3 because this D cannot be in level 2. It has to be in level 3. So the reason this is also put in level 3 is to demonstrate that the low-level code for D is 3, which means you are not going to plan for D until all the level 0, 1, and 2 items are planned. The idea behind that is, imagine D being here. If D were here, what would you do? Plan for A. Based on that, you plan B and C. That is, if you know you need 100 A's, you would know that you would need 200 B's and 300 C's. Once you know how many of B are required, you would plan for D and E. Once you know how many of C are required, you would plan E and F. However, after F, you are planning for D again based on the requirement of F. In practical scenario, that doesn't make sense because you want to plan for D at the same time. Imagining if you're ordering these speakers or even making it, assembling it yourself, there is something called ordering time, ordering cost, or setup time and setup cost if you are producing it in-house. If you are making it once, again, twice, you're incurring that setup cost twice. If you're ordering it once here, second time here again if you're ordering, you are incurring that extra ordering and transportation cost. So that is the reason you go in this sequence of levels. So in our example here, you start with A, then with B and C, then with E and F, then with D and G. So this is how a typical materials requirement plan table looks like. There are 6 rows to the MRP table. And if you look at this, there are MRP tables for item A, B, C. Then you have E, F, D, and G. Now you probably realize why we didn't go after A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because the low-level code of D is 3. Low-level code of G is 3. Low-level codes for E and F are 2. And the low-level codes for B and C are 1. For A it is 0. So everybody should be clear why that sequence. Because it is based on the low-level codes. You start with items which are at level 0, followed by 1, 2, and 3. Now, we are also given the lead time. This is the other input which we have discussed. On hand, that is the current status of inventory. Item A, we already have 10 units in inventory. Item B, we have 15 units in inventory, and so on. For our purposes, let's ignore this column allocated. Safety stock, you could have some safety stock, that is the buffer inventory, just in case inventory. Safety stock is typically kept for safeguarding against uncertainties in demand or supply. Last thing before we look at the numbers, the lot size. To make it simple here, we have said it is lot for lot. So if you recall, it is the quantity that you need, you order. That is lot for lot. Let's start with this number now, 50. Where did we get this from? The MPS, the Master Production Schedule. Now we know that we need to ship 50 units of this product A in week number 8. Now we got a plan. When do we start making B and C and how much? That is the whole idea of MRP. How much to make or how much to order. Second, when to make, when to order. For every item that goes into the final product A. So now, given this 50 units of order in week 8, and again we are making it very simple. In reality there may be orders all over here, multiple orders, but let's understand the system using one example of an order, 50 units in week 8. So as we saw earlier, we have a on-hand inventory of 10 to start with. So the gross requirements are 50 in week 8. Okay, this is what you require, just like in accounting terminology. Okay, we are at the beginning of week 1. This may be end of March, April, May that you are planning. So scheduled receipts are quantities that were ordered before the end of March, sometime here, and that is the quantity that is arriving in week 1, 2, or whenever in our planning horizon. Okay, so in our example we will say that we have no scheduled receipts, nothing scheduled to arrive or to be received. So we take this projected on hand of 10, carry it all the way up to week number 8. In week 8 my gross requirements are 50, my inventory is 10. So how much do I need? Net requirement is only 40. So that is the fourth row, net requirements. Now how about planned order receipts? That is the quantity that you plan to receive. If your requirement is 40, how much do you plan to receive? 40. Why? Because you're using lot for lot, which means any quantity that you need, you can get it. You can receive it. Now, if it was not lot for lot, what if this was lot size multiple 25? Then this number would be 50. Why? Because your requirement is 40, but you cannot receive 40. Why? Because you have this constraint of lot size multiple of 25. So it would be 50. So, but in our example, we have lot for lot, so we can use 40 as the planned receipts, and the same 40 you are going to order a week in advance. You're going to plan to release that order of 40 a week in advance in week 7. The simple reason is lead time is 1 week. Okay, now what will happen? You will start ordering this particular product or start assembling if you're doing it in house in week 7. It will be done in week 8. How much? 40. Then you have 10 units in inventory already. 40 plus 10 is at 50, which is what you need to ship. That is my master production schedule. For you to start making 40 of this item A, if you go back to the previous slide, what do you need to make an A? 2 B's and 3 C's. So you saw that you need in 1A 2 B's and 3 C's. But how many do you need now to make 40? When? Week number 7. So keep this in mind. The simple rule in MRP, write it down if you want. The planned order releases of the parent determines the gross requirements of the child, which simply means to make 40 of item A, you need to have 40 times 2, 80 of item B, 40 times 3, 120 of item C from the bill of materials or the product structure. And keep in mind, when do you need it? The same week as that you need to start making A. The same week that you need to start making A. 80 and 120 of B and C must be ready to go. Okay, so that is what the word, this requirement here is referring to. Planned order releases refers to what you need to start making. Gross requirements refers to the units that have to be ready, arrived from a supplier if it is a supplied product. If it is a produced product in-house, it should be completed, assembled, produced. So the gross requirement of the child should coincide with the planned order releases of the parent. If you understand that simple sentence, you understand MRP. So 40 you need to start of A, so 80 of B should be ready. 120 of C should be ready. Now we can start completing the rest of the table of B. You started with 15 of B, that is what this is. You take that all the way because there is no other order. And when you come to week number 7, 80 minus 15 is that 65 is my net requirement. Again, I can get only 65 because of lot for lot. If it was not for lot, then you would have had a different number under planned order receipts. Now, once you know that 65 is the quantity that you need to receive, you need to release the order. You plan to release the order 2 weeks in advance from when it is really required. It is required in week 7, but you place the order in week 5. Why? The lead time is 2 weeks. Similarly, you carry 20 units which were there for item C all the way up to week 7. The first time you have a gross requirement. So your net requirement is 100, planned receipts are 100, but you are ordering this only a week in advance. The reason simply, the lead time is 1 week. Now you have 65 units of item B, 100 units of item C. Let's go back. What do you need in a B? 2 D's, 2 E's. What do you need in a C? 2 E's and 2 F's. So keep in mind, E has 2 parents, B and C. You need 2 of E in B as well as in a C. So you need 65 of item B in week 5, 100 of item C in week 6. So how many E's? 65 times 2, 130 in week 5, 100 times 2, 200 in week 6. Let's go to E and C. 130, 200. In what weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can go back and see the planned order releases for item B is in week 5. That for item C will be in week 6. If you combine these two into one time period and say 330, you're wrong. Why? You need 130 of this item E to be ready in week number 5, because that is when item B is required. The planned order releases are in week 5, whereas for item C, it is only in week 6. Now, does E have any other parents? No. So you can complete the MRP table of E. So you start with this 10 units. You start with 10, take it all the way up to week 5, and in week 5 you have a net requirement of 120, planned receipts of 120, which are offset by 2 weeks because of the lead time of 2 weeks. And this 120 will arrive in week number 5. Add that to the 10, 130, meet the gross requirement of 130. You end up with nothing in week number 6 in inventory. So you need all the 200 that you have in the requirement here as net requirement. So your planned receipts are going to be 200, again offset by 2 weeks. So the planned order releases for item E are going to be in week number 4. So you have 2 planned order releases for item E. 120 in 3, 200 in week 4. So now let's look at a few other things. Item F is self-explanatory. Item D has 2 numbers here. Why is that? Let's go back. Item D has 2 parents, F and B. Is that correct? Let's go back and see in the bill of materials. See, item D has F and B has 2 parents. So what happens? You need 2 D's in 1B, 2 D's in 1F also. So let's go and find out the planned order releases of F and B. So first let's look at B. B's planned order releases are 65 in week number 5, and then that of F are 195 in week number 3. So 65 times 2 is 130 that you see here for item D, because B's planned order releases were in week number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The planned order releases for the other parent of D, which is F, is 195 in week number 3. So 195 times 2 is the 390 that you have as the gross requirements of D in week 3. Now, are there any more parents of D? No. So now we can complete the MRP table of D. You start with 10, take it all the way up to week number 3, use it, and then your net requirement is only 380. Your planned receipts are also 380. Planned order releases are 380 a week in advance because your lead time is only 1 week. Use the 380 with the 10, 390, you end up with 0. And now you need all the 130 here, which is the net requirement. And then planned order releases are 1 week in advance because again the lead time is 1. So again item D you require to order in week 2 and again in week 4. Finally, where did we get this 195 from? G has only one parent. If you go back to the bill of materials, you will see its only parent is F. So go back to the planned order releases of F. They are 195. How many G's do you need in one F? Only one. That is why the gross requirements of G is exactly the same as the planned order releases of its parent F. Whereas here for D it was multiplied by 2. The only reason is you need 2 D's in one F, whereas you need only 1 G in one F. So you get this 195. That's my gross requirements. Here, if you recall, there is no inventory, so you need all the 195 net requirements. That is my planned order receipts, and planned order releases are 195 2 weeks in advance because of the lead time of 2 weeks. Now final point, what if this was not lot for lot? It was minimum lot size 250. If that was the case, what number would change here? This would be the same, this would be the same, whereas this number would be 250. This number would be 250 because you have to have a minimum of 250. Okay. Now let me give you another example. What if it is lot size multiple of 30? What would change here? This will still be the same. This will be the same. This will be the multiple of 30, which is closest to 195 but higher than 195. And that would obviously be 210. So this will also be 210. One more example. What if this was lot size minimum 150? Then what would change here? 195, these two would not change. Would the planned order releases change? No. Because what are we saying? Above 150, any number is fine. So 195 and 195 would remain the same. Okay. By the way, in the previous examples, when this number changed to 210, for example, this becomes 210. When I said it is lot size multiple 30, you realize that this will be how much? You get 210, you use up only 195, so this should obviously be 15. Okay, because you're having an extra inventory of 15, or you project to have 15 on hand at the end of week 3. So that is MRP. In a nutshell, I just want you to understand that the planned order releases of the parent determines the gross requirements of the child. As long as you understand that the quantity is dependent and the timing is also dependent. Why is it 390 for item D? Because you need 2 D's in one F. So 195 times 2. That is how we got 390. Why are they both in the same week? It has to be in the same week. Like here, 195, 195, same week. If you look at this 200, you can go back to the previous slide. You will see item C's planned order release. The parent of F and E are in week number 6. Okay, so it basically means you need this 390, the requirement. It has to be ready for you to start making 195 of the parent. Good luck.